Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to Respect Our Decision podcast. This is episode 57. As always, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me, my two awesome co-hosts, CJ the Man McCann
What's up, guys?
and the hype man Wes.
What's good?
Hey, Gator Nation. Not a real big show this week. Obviously, not a great opponent on the schedule for the Gators. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this game. Next week, much bigger week. Tennessee comes to town, got a big recruiting list. So we'll have a big show next week to break all that down. We want to give a big thank you, though, to everyone for making our Raw Reaction episode this weekend that we released, our single best, most viewed episode on YouTube ever. Over 5,000 views. Thank you to all of you that watched it and listened to it. Even you rivals out there that watched it and commented, the Gators suck, y'all blow, blah, blah, blah. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in.
Engagement. Drive it up, man.
We appreciate you taking time out of your lives on your weekend to watch a Gator video. Obviously, y'all need the hobbies, so we appreciate it. Guys, as always, though, if you're checking us out, make sure you go download it wherever you get your podcast from. And if this is your very first time ever seeing us on the YouTube channel, you like what you hear, you like what you see, do us a favor, show a little class. Hit the subscribe button, man. Drop a like on the video. Leave us a comment down below. Tell us what you think the final score of this weekend's game for Florida will be. Drop it in the comments below. Make your prediction. Be heard. All right, fellas. Like I said, not a whole lot that we're going to talk about this week. I did want to hit on some of our commitments in their games this last weekend. Guys, we apologize. I didn't run the Friday Under the Lights thread this weekend. Obviously, with the game being on Thursday night and then us doing our video on Friday, we were a little burned out by Friday night. Obviously, with the result of the game, we just wanted to take a little time and sit back and breathe. Glad we did. We watched some game breakdowns. We'll talk about all that in a minute. But we had some commitments, did some really good things this weekend. We just wanted to highlight a couple of them. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. The biggest guy out there, our running back one in the class, Kanan Daniels, had an unbelievable game out in Mississippi. 16 carries, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, just another absolute monster game for that young man as he continues just to put up unreal high school numbers. I think Billy and company knocked it out of the park with this young man. I think he'll finish ranked real nicely, probably inside the top 200. I doubt he's going to get enough love to be a top 100 prospect, but he plays a gimmicky offense. He plays a lot of wildcat for his team. He is his team's single biggest weapon. They use him pretty much every play if they can. So he gets a lot of focus there in that offense. Another young man that did an unbelievable game, Darius Hayes. They call him the Hitman. 17 tackles on the night down there, man. Woo. Just playing all over the field. Darius Hayes just putting in all kinds of work. And real quick, before we move on from this, one of our other linebackers, a kid we haven't talked about very much since the night he committed, Aaron Childs, man, 7 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble up there. He plays in Maryland. Young man putting on a show. Coach Bateman really showing why he wanted these linebackers in this class, man. They're putting up great games. I haven't really gotten any stat lines on Miles Graham yet. Obviously, he transferred down, to get into Gainesville to play football this year from Atlanta. Haven't heard anything on him. DJ had another great week as his team won. Broke off a real beautiful 57-yard touchdown run in the game. He did have a couple of interceptions. He was 21 of 29 on the game. He threw for like 200 yards. Team won, but he did throw a couple of interceptions. And I haven't seen the highlights or read analysis on, was it his fault? Was it a receiver's fault? Was it a tip ball, this, that, or the other? Just, that's the kind of thing that still comes with DJ as he's progressing. He's done this every year. He'll have a game where he throws a couple of picks, and he's got that. I think he's got that Brett Favre mentality where he's like, I'm gonna gun it in there, and my guy needs to make the catch. And while we're talking about DJ, he will be in town this weekend for the game, and he will be in town next week for the game. as of right now, it appears that every one of our commitments will be in town next weekend for the Tennessee game. I'm sure we'll have a cancellation. I'm sure there will probably be more than one. Things come up for these young men. It's what it happens. But before we move on, CJ, anything stand out to you from any of these kids' performances so far, high school wise?
I mean, you want to see them do well. I mean, the couple of picks for DJ is just kind of, it's high school ball. You've got a lot of receivers out there when they don't run the crispest routes. They don't, everybody's not on that level. Things happen. And then you have a guy like DJ who wants to throw the ball around a lot. So you end up making a couple of interceptions. But I think especially in modern day age of football, you kind of live and die with it. You just kind of get over it. It's kind of like baseball is now, where, strikeouts used to be like a really big deal. And now you got more guys striking out than ever, but they hit more home runs now too. So that's kind of just coming with the territory. I'm glad to see Cannon Daniels it really being successful. I think a lot of people were worried because he did play a lot of quarterback, if you want to call it that, for his team. They run more of a run base, like almost kind of like the veer or the triple option, or those kinds of wishbone, where you just kind of have your best athlete play quarterback and man the offense and make plays with his legs. So great week for him. Glad to see him out there doing his thing. And then Aaron Childs, good job by the young man. We don't get a lot of news up there because we're just not in that part of the country, so it's hard for us to know who to look for to find this kind of stuff. With reporters up in Maryland, what you're looking for, but to hear him having a great game, showing that the evaluations are paying off with all the linebackers.
I was going to ask Wes next. Wes, are you excited about? I know you're excited about it, but the more you see these stat lines, I know you have to be just ready for these linebackers to get to Gainesville and start playing in this system.
Yeah, man, especially from what we saw from Shamar James, who was another highly recruited linebacker, and we talked about what Bernie was able to do last year as far as up here with
learning and progressing,
and just being a better total linebacker. And you see Shamar taking that step this year as a true sophomore. You just can't wait to get that talent into Bateman's room to see these guys flourish as well. So I love that. Also love that AR was out there last week with DJ as well, picking up, helping recruit the kid. In a sense, he's our former quarterback, first-round pick. For him being out there in Texas last week on his off week before this week for his game was a big thing as well for me, seeing him out there. I think him and RG3 were out there. RG3 is from Texas, so of course he probably wanted to be out there knowing who DJ is and just to see AR out there. So a lot of, even though we had a rough week last week, so a lot of good things with our recruits in this incoming class. So we keep harping on these young freshmen and these soon-to-be freshmen next year. So you love to see it.
Yeah, man. Just really good numbers. That make, and we go back to DJ for real quick. That makes him 50 of 62 so far passing on the year. With a little under like 700 yards passing and 9 touchdowns. So I'm not too worried about him throwing 2 picks in a game. Like I said, the team won. They won pretty handedly at the end of the day. So, obviously, as a kid coming up in that system and learning like he's doing, I know the coach will be like, hey, let's clean that up. I'm sure Billy and Sean, and Coach O'Hara are on the phone with him being like, hey, man, just play in your zone, man. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And DJ's the kind of kid that's just going to shrug that off and probably put up another 400 yards next week. So, like I said, guys, we have a huge visitor list next week. These names are still rolling in. A 5-star for the 2025 class, Armando Blunt.
Defensive lineman, yep.
He just announced came out like earlier today that he'll be in town next weekend out of Miami. So we're just going to be a lot of names we'll cover next week as we get ready for Tennessee week. Obviously, a huge deal. We had already told y'all that that's kind of going to be what LSU was last year as far as the big recruitment weekend. It's going to be the Tennessee week. So I'm sure Billy and company will have a lot of things planned out for these kids as they come into town. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. So we will jump into all of that next week and talk about any other potential kids that that might help round out this class that might be visitors as well. I know Jamar Grimsley is not going to be in town. He's going to be at the Alabama game, which is in Orlando. Obviously, you don't want to hear that, but I'm going to go ahead and throw that little nugget out there now, and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, let's talk about Florida football a little bit more, man. We've had some days to digest things. There's lots of game breakdown out there now. I can't even remember all the people that do it. Y'all can add to me if I'm missing the names here, but as you've gotten to watch, and I'll start with you, Wes. If you've watched some more of these breakdowns, do you feel any worse or better about the loss this week?
I still don't feel better about the loss. I don't think.
I don't mean better to the fact of, oh man, I can deal with it. No, do you feel better with what you saw on the field after some of these breakdowns have come out?
Yeah, I saw some of the breakdowns, but I rewatched it from my own eyes because I feel like I'm a pretty good guy as far as football knowledge. So I saw some of the breakdowns, looking at some stuff that maybe I didn't see that they saw, and just me watching the whole, it's still frustrating. It makes me even more frustrated. And I told you guys last week, I don't like to use that term, not ready to play. It was week 1. They were ready to play. They were undisciplined and made errors. It's why I'm a proponent. And I saw somebody in the comments say this on a thing last week. It's not that I don't mind the home and away games from non-conference. I would prefer to have that week 2 because like the NFL has preseason. These guys, you can practice all day. We all play sports. There's a difference when we say basketball shape or football shape or baseball. You can practice all day, but till you go 4 quarters, it's the same thing with taking practice into a game environment, especially when you're playing on the road and you haven't had a real game before that. Florida had a bunch of scrimmages. People even complain we had too many scrimmages because of injuries. But you can try to get that game-like type environment, but till you go on the road and play in the hostile environment and you haven't had any preseason with fans and live and whistles, real officials, you're going to have errors. And I still think we cost ourselves winning this game. Not to take anything from Utah. Utah is a machine in itself. It's not saying it's like Alabama machine, but it's a machine that they have a system on the way they go through things, even with their backup quarterback in. So if you make those mistakes against a decent team like Utah, you're going to lose. And we saw that from a lot of teams. We saw Clemson struggle the other night with errors down in the red zone. And they are a supposedly machine. But on the road, week 1, you playing against a live opponent, not a McNeese State that we have this week, or a Florida A&M or whoever, you're going to have these type of games. So, but to me, it's still a lot of things that we can clean up, and I expect us to improve. Y'all know I'm the optimist on here, so I'm being optimistic and say it's a lot of things that I saw that can be improved. I know I talked about Billy, and I still want to give him the whole season to see about the OC thing. I think it's some things we got away. It was week 1 for him as well. But I wasn't displeased with, and I talked about this on the Raw Reaction with our receivers. Some things you guys pointed to me about the O-line, and I'll leave that to you guys to talk about that you guys saw. But overall, I think these are some correctable things. It was, to me, a lot of mental errors that really cost us this game.
I agree 100% on that, and I'll kind of allude to some other things, but I want to let CJ kind of give his take on as well on the same question. CJ, after you've watched some breakdowns, and I know you've watched quite a few, what are some takeaways that you have, good and bad, after watching?
I'll start with the good. The defense, there were mistakes that people made, but like as far as being in the right places and doing the right things and not breaking down to old bad habits. The defense did a very good job of sticking to assignments. Just the stuff that we, complained about so much, for the last 4 or 5 years of this is just being out of position. Well, there wasn't a lot of guys that were just out of position on defense. You had the big play over the top to start the game, to catch it, you mess up, looking for the crossing route with the safety, he gets beat deep over the top.
And we all blamed Moulton on that initially. That was a key point I had to make as well. We initially knee-jerk reaction was RJ Moulton bit on a route, but that wasn't actually he did, but there was a reason, and it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, and two, there was just that play. I mean, in watching the film, the ball should have been intercepted. I mean, the thing hung up there forever. You've got to be able to get back there to it to make a play on it. And I think it's just if that happens third play of the game, then I think you make a play on the ball. But it was the first play of the game. You get beat. You don't expect Utah to go over the top to start the game. It's a great play call. And it's just one of those things where you make a stupid mistake. But as far as like the rest of the defense goes, there's a couple of long shots that just Utah missed. And the thing with it is you just want to minimize those as much as you can. You're going to get beat. A wide receiver is going to beat a DB at least a handful of times in a game. It's just going to happen unless you've got Deion Sanders over there. It's what you're working with. That's just, and especially in college football. So that's just going to happen. But like the other stuff, whereas, just being there, being able to stuff the run, making the assignment to get through the gap. We saw TJ Searcy, we saw Kelby Collins. Those guys really step up in that game of just being there to stop the run. I would like to see them get more pressure to get the quarterback, get the sack. That's the one, bugaboo that these guys have to get over the hump. You've got to be able to get there and get that quarterback. There were many times where it looked like we were almost there, but almost is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades, and we're playing football. So they gotta get to the quarterback. You've got to make the play. You've got to get the sack because those are game changing. You've got to be able to recover the fumble, be aware the ball's on the ground. I don't know if it's better, calling it out or what exactly you have to do, but there's a couple of easy plays there that you just got to make. Devin Moore had a great pass breakup that could have been an interception. You've got to clean that stuff up. When they give you chances like that, you've got to take them. And I think that's one thing we can look forward to is they're very young. That'll segue into my next point. When you only return 5 starters on both sides of the ball, this is kind of what you expect. We really have some really talented freshmen, and we saw that, but they're still freshmen. They're still going to make freshman mistakes. You got guys that we had an offensive line that played a combined 14 snaps without Kingsley. Or 14 games without Kingsley. So that's not indicative of the success, especially when Kingsley is responsible as the center for a lot of the slide protection and stuff in the gap. And then we were getting killed in the gap all night. Damian George is an entirely different situation. I don't know what you do with that. I'm disappointed in his play. I mean, the only thing you could say looking at that is you've just got to play better. And that's easier said than done.
I think that young man, and I don't mean to cut you off, I think that young man is tremendously out of position.
I think you're right. I think that he really probably shouldn't be playing tackle.
I know because of that one play that sticks out in our mind on that sack. And it was just the penalties. I don't know how bad he
got beat. He got pressured a few other times too, where he lost his edge, or maybe he didn't shuffle his guy out far enough. And it goes back to, and this is why I say I think he's more of a guard. I don't think he has the feet of a tackle. He just doesn't have that quick foot, that you see in Austin Barber. You see him on several plays shuffle his man out of the play where the quarterback can step up.
He's more athletic. Yeah, he's more athletic.
Like you said, you're missing the slide protection guy in the center because you've got Slaughter, and that's not good. So the main positions you saw get beat were the center and the tackle, Mr. George. If the rest of the offensive line, especially Richie Leonard was one of our highest graded players on offense. Michael Mazuka played well. Barber played well. So you look at those guys, it's just like, wow, if we can get Kingsley back healthy, which I don't know if he's going to be back this week or not. No, Billy Napier kind of didn't sound like he was, you want him for Tennessee. I wouldn't play him anyway. You want him for Tennessee.
And for those that don't know, he's dealing with a high ankle sprain.
Right. And those take forever to recover from. They're not like serious, but it's everybody's got a different timeline. You're going to be dealing with it for a while. I understand the idea of, everybody wants to run the ball more, but the way Utah was stacking the box, you had 8. It's hard to run against that. You're going to have to get those guys outside. You're going to have to use the short passing game to kind of spread them out. And every time we would get to the point where we were kind of doing that, you'd have something to set you back where you go into like 3rd and 11. Well, now you're forced to drop back and try to make something happen, and you've really shot yourself in the foot. So it's like it was always just you take 2 steps forward and you take 3 back. So you could never get to where you wanted to go with your play calling. But there were different things that you look at where there were missed assignments by Slaughter. There was one particular, the pop pass, where if he'd gotten his block that he was supposed to have, the pop pass goes for a ton of yards. It was not a bad play call. It just didn't work out. So there's a lot of that this year, this past game. If you look at, it's like, wow, it's just missing assignments. And in the moment, you just think, oh, these are dumb play calls because you see a guy get tackled for a loss of 2 yards. Oh, what are you doing? But if you understand that this is the way it was supposed to be run, then it wouldn't appear that way. And we could talk about Billy with the offensive coordinator another time, but I mean, the guy is averaging, aside from the Oregon State game last year, he was averaging 31.7 points a game. It's not like we haven't been able to score and haven't been able to move. We got plenty of yards. We moved the ball way better.
It's our red zone issue.
And that's where it comes down to execution. You get in the red zone, it is the most critical point on the field. You're the closest you've been to the fans all night. You've got to get stuff done in the red zone. You've got to score in the red zone. And field goals are okay, but you really need to score touchdowns when you're down there and make the most of it, because a team like Utah,
kick another field goal.
Utah isn't going to give you those opportunities a ton. Now, especially when you start playing really good opponents. If you play some, like a team like McNeese, if you miss a red zone, whatever, you'll get another one. But when you come down to teams like Utah, you have to make the most out of what you're doing in the red zone. And I'm sure that that's been beat into their heads this week. It's like, we've got to execute. We've got to score. So we're going to take McNeese. It's like a game like McNeese. I wish we had them week 1, because I wish we could have had a team like them week 1. But, you go on the road to Utah, and it's just not a great place to want to work out your Kings week 1. But, this week is going to be the point where you're going to have to tune up because you're going to get ready for SEC play the next week.
Yeah. Something I noticed from watching the breakdown, if you watched our reaction video, the first thing I did is I said I was very pleased with the game Graham Mertz played. And as a whole, I really still am. But I can guarantee you this week film study was very interesting because Graham missed quite a few reads. And I saw a lot of people saying that's because he stares down his first receiver. In a lot of cases, that was accurate. And I think that's just him having that comfort with Ricky A. And maybe that's something that needs to just be worked through. But, you were missing an Andy Jean. Your tight ends, not quite where you want them to be health-wise. I mean, there's some things in there. Some of our guys still having trouble getting some separation. So I know that's an issue that I know we've got to get cleaned up because we're going to face more elite DBs than Utah had to offer because DB was supposed to be one of their weaker positions. But they played, to their credit, they played pretty good defense most of the night. But there were, on pretty much every play, there was somebody open. It's just going through your progressions and your checkdowns. And maybe that's him having to have some more faith in the offensive line, which I can understand why maybe he's a little shaky.
Yeah.
He's been practicing with these guys, so he knows that maybe Damian George has trouble sealing his back, his right side. Maybe he knows Slaughter gets pushed around in the middle of the field. These are things that, having practiced with these guys, I'm sure he's got some happy feet or happy arm with playing with some of these guys right now as the unit gels and gets more faith in other wide receivers other than Ricky. Now, he made some great throws to some guys. I mean, you saw Caleb Douglas obviously snatched the ball out of the air. He made a great back shoulder throw to Marcus Burke. But then in the red zone, we had 4 go routes and Dante Sanders is wide open and he immediately throws to Ricky when Ricky's covered. So these are things that I'm sure that Billy, Coach O'Hara, and the gang, they will sit down and have already this week looked at the film and said, look, you've got to start, if that guy's covered off the snap, you've got to look away. You've got to, to set your feet and look down, and go through your progressions. So it'll be very interesting this week. Obviously, this is not going to be the test of what did you learn from week 1 other than can you play a clean game? That would be the main thing you'd like to see out of this week is obviously no stupid penalties, no stupid special teams mistakes, fielding balls inside the 10, obviously jumping off sides, things of that nature. And I'd also like to see us maybe get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback this week. Obviously, given the opponent that we're playing, that's something we definitely need to see step up. And I'm sure Coach Armstrong is going to scheme for that. So, guys, that being said, pretty easy game this week. We know that. Wes, I'm going to start with you. Give me your prediction for this game. Give me your score prediction.
41-7.
All right. CJ?
45-10.
45-10. All right. I'm going to go 42-3. I don't think our defense is giving up much of crap this week.
Did our defense have any penalties last week?
I believe so. I couldn't tell you what they were. They weren't big penalty. If they did, they weren't, and hey, I mean, look at FSU versus LSU. FSU in the second half obviously played a great game, but their defense took a lot of stupid penalties in that game that kept LSU's drive alive. So, I
didn't remember any offsides, any pass interferences.
They played tremendously well disciplined on defense all the way around. I mean, aside from the two numbers on the field, giving the offense new life and a drive extended, an interception inside the red zone, you give up 7 points. I mean, the yardage wasn't, and obviously the big play over the top on the very first play of the game. I mean, it wasn't like you were giving up chunk yardage plays all over the place. The defense did their thing. The defense had you in that game to win that game. We just need to see the offense start doing, taking up their side of the slack. So hopefully this week we'll tune up, put up some good things, get some things installed. We done lost CJ. CJ's out. Hopefully he'll rejoin us real quickly. So, like I said, I really think that a lot of these things are correctable. We can get them squared away, and we'll be right back doing what we need to do, getting ready for Tennessee, man. And Tennessee's a big game right now. All of a sudden, Tennessee is a huge, huge game. I don't think that anybody needs to be told that. But I think Billy's going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders for this game as well. So we'll just have to play it out, man, and see how it goes. But right now we're going to jump into our pick'ems, man. Hopefully CJ can join us back here real quickly. I don't know what happened with him there. Very uncharacteristic for CJ to drop out on us. Last week's results, Wes, man, I hate to tell you. Wes.
Hey, it was week 1, man. It was a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Oh, my God.
Nebraska had to win, and then they lost it, and it killed me at the end, man.
Oh, my goodness. Poor Wes, man. Even when he gets away from what wasn't working, it just comes right back to bite him. Wes goes 5-5 on the week. Hirsch and CJ both go 6-4.
Only one game back.
Oh, my gosh.
And that was the game that killed me, Nebraska and Minnesota.
Hey, man, stuff happens, man. It's rough. When I saw that game I was watching, I was like, man, Wes is actually going to get this one right. And then all of a sudden,
I had that on the small TV while we were playing. I had it on my little small TV out here, man. I was like, he dragged his foot.
It was a hell of a catch. I was like, yes, sir, Minnesota receiver. I appreciate you coming through for me. I needed it. I appreciate Louisville rallying from behind. Georgia Tech was really putting it to them for a while there. Louisville rallied and gave me a victory. Of course, CJ was the only one on this show that had the nerve, I'll say, to pick FSU to win. I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I blame Brian Kelly and company for not using Harold Perkins more efficiently. I mean, my man just disappeared.
They're doing them like Dallas was doing Michael Parsons at one point. They said, you know what? Go get the passer. And now Michael Parsons doesn't play linebacker anymore. And that's what LSU needs to do.
I blame it, like I said, I blame it on them for not getting any pressure with Perkins. And then whoever Chestnut is in their secondary, that kid's still getting burned by wide receivers right now. Like he's probably at practice getting burned by somebody wearing a Coleman jersey right now. So, all right, Wes. Well, let's start. We're gonna go ahead and start talking about these picks, and then we might have to just we might have to record CJ's after the fact. Bless his heart, he might be having an issue. So we're gonna start with game one, man. Notre Dame at NC State. Sam Hartman looked pretty good in his first game at Notre Dame. Who you got, Wes?
Yeah, I'm going back with Notre Dame and Josh Freeman and the boys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's Freeman. It's Freeman. I'm gonna have to go with you on that. I'm gonna have to go with the Domers, man. That young man looks like he's gonna put up quite a year there, and good. I'm glad. I like Coach Freeman. I hope he has a great year. I just don't want to play him and have to pick against him if they played Florida in any situation in the bowl game or whatever. But it don't look like that's anything to worry about. All right, moving right along. Game two, Vandy at Wake Forest.
Yeesh. Vandy. I'm gonna go with Vandy.
You know what? I'm right there with you, brother. I'm going with Vandy myself. I put this one right after the Notre Dame game because obviously Hartman no longer at Wake Forest. Yeah, man, I got to go Vandy on this one myself. Vandy put up a lot of points at Hawaii. Now, I know that ain't Wake Forest, but points are points, brother. All right, here's a tricky one for us. We don't follow these guys. Illinois at Kansas.
I'm going to go with Illinois. Lost a lot of the defense last year. I know because we got a couple of guys off that team in our secondary. So I'm going to go with Kansas.
All right. Kansas for Wes. CJ, I'll go back to you here. I'll go back on the first two games. Kansas, Illinois at Kansas. Who you got?
Give me Kansas. Why not? Give me the Jayhawks.
I'm going to go Rock Chalk Jayhawk myself, man. I was on their bandwagon last year, so I'll stay on it. All right, I'm going to go back to you real quick, CJ. We did Notre Dame at Wake first. Who you got?
Notre Dame.
Obviously.
Notre Dame by a lot.
And then obviously going back to the non-Sam Hartman Bowl, Vanderbilt at Wake Forest.
That's tough. Give me Vandy.
We took Vandy as well, man.
Give me Vandy.
Vandy put up a lot of points.
I can't catch them if we all picking the same.
Well, I mean, that's why you can't fall behind after week one.
I see that.
All right. Okay. Game 4, Purdue at Vitek. CJ, we'll let you start this one.
Give me the Boilermakers.
Wes?
Did they win last week?
Yes,
they did.
Did Purdue win last week?
I don't even know. I can't even tell you.
I assume they did.
Give me Vitek at home.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm taking Purdue. Vitek didn't exactly look like world beaters against Old Dominion, but then again, Old Dominion always gives them a hard time. So, I mean, hey, we'll stick it there. I'm going to go with Boilermakers. Number 5 game, Ole Miss at Tulane. Wes, who you got? Now Wes is frozen. Man, I'm telling you now, we're just having communication.
We're having a rough night, huh?
Wes is puckering up for the camera. Look at him go. My Lord. Well, CJ, while Wes is frozen in time, who do you got in Ole Miss?
Give me Tulane. Give me the Green Wave.
Really?
Give me Tulane. I'll say they upset them.
Oh man, I'd like to. I'd love to have the belief, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with Lane here. Now I do reserve the right to say that I hope he loses. But Wes, you good? You back with us?
He was.
Oh, he's still stuttering Stanley over there. Wes.
Okay, he's blinking.
Blink twice if you know your pick, Wes. Wes having some audio issues, it appears. Uh-oh. And he's gone. We'll come back to him.
It's a wonderful night.
Everybody's having a wonderful night of connection issues right here as we do the picks. Number 6, Iowa at Iowa State. Always a barn burner. Here, wait a minute. Wes is coming back in. Let's see if we can get his pick in. Wes, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
He's coming back.
All right, Wes. Ole Miss at Tulane.
I'm gonna go with Ole Miss, but this is a sneaky game.
Yeah. CJ went all in with the green wave, and the quarterback that could have been for the University of Florida. I won't talk about that. I won't put that out there. All right. We were hot on the heels right now. Iowa at Iowa State. CJ, who were you going to get?
I'll take Iowa State.
Okay. Matt Campbell is.
Take Matt Campbell. Right. Come on, Matt Campbell.
All right, Wes.
Iowa State, they can't beat Iowa, man. I'm going to go Iowa with the Hawkeyes.
I'm with you, man. I'm back on the Hawkeye train down here, man. I'm gonna take Iowa too. Matt Campbell chokes. He chokes at Iowa. He chokes versus Iowa since it is at Iowa State. All right. Back to the SEC. Arizona at Mississippi State. CJ Wes, this is your turn.
Okay. Mississippi State. Yeah. SEC. Need a bounce back week for the SEC.
CJ.
Man, I think Mississippi State found their secret sauce in Creed Whittemore last week. So, I'll take the Bulldogs, Mississippi State.
Yeah, man. I'm staying on the Mississippi State train, man. They're winning. They're out there playing for the Pirate, and I'm not picking against them. All right, we're gonna get into some games now, boys. All right, Coach Prime shocked the college football world last week. This week, Nebraska comes to Boulder. CJ, who you got?
I'll take Coach Prime. I'm not going to pick against him this week. Nebraska didn't look like they could score a lot.
You gonna pick Nebraska again?
Nah, that's what they did to me last week at the end of their game. Nah, I'm going with Prime.
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, that offense put up some crazy. I didn't think they had a. Now I'm gonna tell you now. TCU replaced a lot of people. So I'm gonna wait to pass judgment, but I also didn't think that Colorado would be this good that quick. So I don't think Nebraska's got enough juice to hang with them. So I'm gonna go all Buffaloes on this one, man.
That running back, man.
Travis Hunter is an absolute animal.
Thank God he didn't go to Florida State.
Jesus God. I mean, any young man that can play that many snaps in a football game and just be smiling at the end of it, God bless him. He is
the next Charles Woodson.
He is the next Woodson. All right. Texas A&M travels down for a not-so-home game at Miami. CJ, who we picking?
I picked Florida State last week and it worked out, so I'll take the Canes this week.
My God.
Give me the Canes. Canes upset Jimbo.
Oh. All right, Wes.
If CJ goes 2-0 on this crap.
My pick last week was to try to jinx Florida State. I was trying to just put myself in a hole and hope that I would jinx them, but it didn't work.
Week. I hate Jimbo. Y'all know I hate Jimbo with a passion, but I'm the only reason I'm picking him the same reason I picked LSU last week. No way in the hell I'm picking Miami. Go ahead, Jimbo. Beat him like you used to beat him at Florida State.
Yeah, I didn't see the whole game, but I saw enough of TVD to know I'm taking I'm taking A&M in this game until I see something different. Now, I also saw Mark Fletcher, and I was a little sick to my stomach.
Yeah, I was upset watching Mark Fletcher.
That's a conversation for another day. We're not going to have it right now. All right. Last game on the docket, the big one in college football this weekend, Texas at Bama. Wes, you're first.
Everybody's betting against Nick Saban, and I won't be the one.
He won't be the one. So he's going Alabama. All right, CJ.
Man, this is tough. I after last year, I don't know. Because last year I thought for sure Alabama was going to steamroll them, and that just didn't happen. I can't pick against Nick Saban. Not in Tuscaloosa. Give me the Tide.
Look, man, I believe Sark gonna beat Saban when he does it. But until that day comes, you ain't seeing me pick on him. I ain't doing it.
So you're telling me Texas is not back?
Neither the U ain't back. Texas ain't back. I ain't saying FSU is back until they damn well do something more impressive to me than beat a terrible.
Or said Jinko's ain't back. Lugs ain't back.
ain't none of it back until I say, no, I ain't believing it. I got to see more than that. All right, fellas. I mean, that's pretty much gonna do it. Like I said, Wes took that week 1 L, so he's gonna try to fight back. He picking a little smarter this week, and we'll see how it shakes out. CJ and me tied 6-4 each, with some lucky wins, some unlucky losses. But man, college football is getting better each week, guys. We're 1 week away from SEC play. We got us in Tennessee next week, Georgia, South Carolina, and after what I saw this weekend, that game might be a little bit harder to pick than I thought it was going to be.
Told y'all, I'm gonna stick with it, even though they lost last week.
Unless South Carolina's offensive line learns how to block real fast. Remember, Gator fans, it could always be worse. There's a lot of things out there that ain't great.
Yeah.
But as always, guys, we really appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Like I said, this is going to be a short episode this week. We don't want to spend y'all's time talking about McNeese State. We know that Florida should win. Now, if we do our raw reaction on Sunday and this game was tight, it might be an ugly show. We might have some things to really get down about.
It's gonna be real raw.
Somebody gonna be raw.
It's gonna be Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, dropping people's elbows on somebody's head. All right, guys. CJ, what do you got to add, man, before we get out of here?
Just make sure you guys are always supporting us as creators. Thank you so much for all the love last week. We're doing gangbusters right now. We're doing a great job. You guys are helping us out a ton. Check out our friends' alma mater. Use our link. Buy you some Gator gear. They're coming out with stuff every week. I can't keep up with the stuff. They've got that. Still got that Black Pell Era logo hat. I've got it over there. Just a really nice hat. I stand by their stuff. Everything that they've given me has been high quality. So definitely check them out. They are our friends. Check out the Facebook group. We've got a lot of interaction going on over there. Check out our Twitters. We try to keep you guys updated through the week. Different things, high school, recruiting, any kind of news that breaks, you can find it over there. So thank you guys so much again for last week. You did a great job and really involved yourself in our channel, and it helps out a ton.
Yes, sir, man. We appreciate y'all so much for all that. Wes?
Yeah, as always, we love the support, the interaction, so we thank you guys for all of that. Look forward to not only a win, but a good-looking win where we see the things that we need to work on, get improved. I know you guys want to know who the winner is. We're doing that. The drawing will be next week live. First thing we come on from out of the hat to pick the winner of the.
We might actually do it on the raw reaction, to be honest with you.
Okay, so look forward to that. To you guys who stayed all the way to the end through our pick'ems, and as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. Big win this week. Let's get it.
Peace.